honestly, what a beautiful intro that we have here with that video in APAC North as always. Killing it! Talon VT1 is our starter matches, and it is a full Korean bout for us to kick things off. What does it all look like? That is our question for today, as we see Mephi being added to the T1 lineup. No changes on the Talon side, like Cyclops, Darwin, Kia, and Sandbox. Let's have a chat about our teams. First up with Talon. Why don't we, Das?
Yeah, unchanged, as you just alluded to as well. Not a lot has really moved for these boys, to be fair. And you and I were speaking before the show and saying, why not? Talon didn't have the best year last year. They were finishing in that bottom half. It wasn't super strong for them. The thing is with this team, I think they're kind of taking the stance of let's kind of play for long-term stability, right?
Yeah.
You can't be one of those teams that, or everyone's out there saying these days, look, stay together longer, you'll figure things out, and then you keep on making changes.
I've been hearing that saying for
You've
about
heard that for
3
a
years
long time, but it kind of proves the point. It's a team that's trying to go with the let's stick and see approach, so fair play to Talon for trying it. However, does it raise expectations? Probably not.
I think they made the changes coming into stage 3, right, with Heady and Demic, and I think you give them the stage. So they've had the stage, they've had the whole off-season because they've not played. So it's now the judgment of them transfers that happened in stage 3 2021 is in this stage.
Yes.
So we're expecting to see not instant improvement, but improvement coming out of Talon, and that's what we'll judge them on.
I mean, maybe Talon were kind of sitting up, waiting to hatch here at the start of the year. Who knows? It's a big question on everybody's mind because, almost 2-ish months being away from competition, that's a lot of time for you to prep and change things according to your opponents, especially with two teams that are in the same region in Korea. But T1, what can they offer fresh?
Oh boy.
T1, I love this. I love this team because they're so exciting. I think they're genuinely probably the most exciting team to watch in this competition at times. And I think obviously they have made a roster change. They did have the coach playing in stage 3. Now not playing, they've picked up a new player who I've been told is a bit of an 18-year-old gunner. There was not too much information about him, but they had an improvement curve, right? So they pretty poor in stage 1 2021, pretty poor in stage 2. Even in stage 3, this did finish lower down the table. However, they got 9 points. They could have tied. They even had a chance to go to the major. So they've had that improvement. They've made a roster change that they feel will improve them. And actually, I think they're not a potential dark horse, but they are a banana skin for a lot of teams this stage.
A what now?
A banana skin, where you slip up.
You played a certain racing game. Come on.
Come on, you must have done.
Milos, you're younger than me. You're not a boomer.
I'll
tell you what, I'm just going to say it. Mario Kart, banana skins.
Oh, yeah, I didn't really play Nintendo games.
This guy,
I was
honestly.
too busy playing, strategy games because that's how I am. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, much the same as what he said there. It's another team ringing in a young 18-year-old gunner, right? Mephi coming in could be massive for this team.
Yeah.
It really brings a lot of firepower to the team. You're getting rid of, I don't want to say getting rid of, it sounds bad, but you're taking a coach who had to step in and fill.
Fanksy was definitely that role.
Yes. Fanksy was the guy. Now has basically moved into being a full-time coach as intended. So this is a roster that is now finally at full strength. Could be really exciting. I'm hoping it's their year.
Our first map ban with a 9-map pool. Let's bring it up. It's going to be like
oh my God, there's
a bazillion part of our screen.
It's starting higher.
But it's that simple. It's ban, pick. I feel like I'm in the Flintstones. Bam.
Oh, none of the new maps have been banned yet.
Okay.
Still.
Oregon banned.
Still.
Oh.
Still.
Okay. Chalet.
Oh, well, theme park's gone. Doesn't matter. Luke just reminded me.
Okay.
We're going to
there they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the more we add, the more they're just not going to play them.
Start
Here we are.
Ground, right?
Chalet, classic one for everybody at this point. We got to be used to it. They have to be used to it. What do we expect for this?
Was one of the most attacker-leaning maps last year. A lot of teams saying, look, it's just nearly impossible to defend it. We saw a lot of fluctuation in what sites teams were going to. The initial idea was downstairs. No one wants to defend there. It became more and more popular across the year. I think attacker repick can be really, really interesting on this map especially, and that is what I'm most excited about.
I think preference-wise, both teams, obviously I've taken the preferences from last year. However, it was a very middle-of-the-road map for both teams. It was one that they were both happy to go to in best of ones. So despite the map changes, am I surprised to see it? No.
All right, friends, thank you very much. Fresh, and that's you may rest your arm at this point.
I'll keep changing. I'll go all day.
It's good to kind of keep on bouncing between just for the weights. Well, friends, thank you very much. Let's toss it to our casters for the first cast competitively of the year. It's a beautiful fluke, and Hap, enjoy.
Hap's not beautiful.
A beautiful fluke and Hap. That also make me beautiful?
I don't know.
Or am I
No,
just-
it's an Oxford comma.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I am also beautiful.
Yes.
Let's go!
All right. Hi, welcome.
got it.
We're back. Siege is back. SI wasn't the end. No. We have a whole new comp here, and this is the start for everybody. This is the first one out of every region.
It is going to be the first one, and we're going to head right into Chalet to see. I really hope for a skyscraper. I know you didn't.
No, I would love to do a skyscraper, but I want to. I know I'm gonna mess up the cools on it. Like
That's fine. We can do that in the first cast.
yeah, you know. And yeah, the first cast. We are back, baby. T1 versus Talon. Cool new UI. Look at these. Look at this band base.
I saw it yesterday when we were playing ranked.
Yeah.
Because we played some games.
It is our
look
job.
At it. It's beautiful.
It's so cool.
It is so cool.
It's so swish. And it's so important to talk about, I guess, Chalet as a map because it's known now. Obviously, there's been the big changes. It was the sort of new kid on the block previously, but it's well established. We know what's going on with Chalet. We know that it's a hefty attacker map. It plays very, very well into these teams, and we sort of know these teams at this point. And although Talon is this sort of show of force, it has the split, it has the divide it can do. T1 was very often driven by a singular force, a singular player.
Yeah.
And they got into a bit of a problem there. But that, on an attack map, was sometimes a little bit more prominent for them.
Now, two of the bends make sort of sense, right? We have the mirror to be removed. We have the Thatcher to be removed. To some extent, the other two we saw are a bit less common, but not totally out of the ordinary just yet. The floors, of course, is often used to get rid of shields, top of blue stairs, for example, or at the top of fireplace, if we're just counting the top floor. So removing that makes those holes just a little bit stronger. As a result, also removing the Jaeger, of course, which allows grenades to still sail through, which means that Wamai will now be brought out to deal with that situation.
And here we go. Here we go, finding ourselves stepping in to the start again. Little UI tweaks. This is the first time I'm observing with the new UI tweaks. I like that we can see the spawns on the right because we can see attacker repick.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
how
they're
it
all
looks.
repicking.
They're all repicking. Look at that. Okay, if you don't know, attacker repick is now in the game. Up until about, I think it's like 3 seconds before the round starts, you'll probably hear a very cool sound effect as we go into it. The attackers can repick. They can change. They can adapt and alter their operator lineups. Now, I don't think the defenders have any idea of repicked things. I think that was
No, there's no reveal phase anymore, so they wouldn't have a single clue of what operators were brought before. All they can see is, or hear rather, is the guns that start popping off. Now also, of course, you have the new sights on every single operator. Every single operator will have the same sight. So what you saw with Glass there is the normal red dot that is now going to be just a very clean dot there to play with the magnifier.
Gonna see if they can try and cut off any of this angle here from the big balcony. Mephi on the opposite side is doing the approach. They cannot quite get the coordination that they otherwise want, and obviously he is that new step-in player. He is that new point of prominence for them. Replaced Fanxy, who was the previous player. Talon, in the meantime, no changes. I think one of the only rosters that has come into this without a single roster change.
And there's a couple of them indeed that haven't made any changes. Of course, Sandbox later on has a change pending, but is still waiting for that one to push through. So they are trying to build on what they had over the past year and see if they can improve on that one. As the pressure starts to be coming down now on the top of the fireplace here, Mephi gets the very first. It takes Soldier as well as he wanted to relocate quickly after, but failed to make that stick. And as a result, T1 now have a double entry here on this very first round on their attack.
So Ossa, they've obviously set that themselves up here, a little bit of a bastion. They're going to have this as a protection, potentially, of anyone that might try and creep their way up blue. There is the pings. They have some awareness, but they might not be fully aware. They sure are now. That drone gets the call. Arakase is just going to hold off. They've been able to get themselves set up now, and box gets popped open. BGH is going to see if they can offer something with that glass rifle, as Hetty's gotten himself quite aggressive there, just on the split onto box. They're obviously playing now with the 2-body deficit, so they've still got to make sure they can have a bit of a reach and a stretch into this approach, but it's pretty well stacked up here from T1. They just have to try and find that final step, and it seems like they've got an idea on a player. Aziz is keeping themselves a little bit of a distance.
Of course, they had the spot earlier on the library stairs already. Weren't quite sure where he went afterwards, but as it is being occupied by Arakazi as well, of course, they know he's most likely going to be in that basement. And all the T1 needs to do now is grab that diffuser and start to try and stick it somewhere on that side, and it will most likely become the half wall. Smokes and grenades are coming through. Hetty will be able to pick up 11, however, that brings it back to somewhat more equal numbers, but this smoke is going to be cutting off one of the rotates at least.
Couldn't quite find that final step into the site. Suddenly, the bodies have started to drop against him. PJH goes deep. Behind the cover of the smoke on the one side, is able to pick up the other shoulder. Hetty is that backline, and they're going to see if they can try and actually stick the plant at this moment in time. He's the only one close to the site. He goes for the swing over the short wall. Can't quite get the connection, but it's Aziz on the backline. Gets a huge take. Just has to find this diffuser. There it is. And the rotate that he waited and baited at the bottom of blue for such a long time comes through at the perfect time.
Perfect timing indeed. He waited for a very long time, and they always had that up their sleeves. They always had the opportunity to just pop up and make sure that they had that, you know, flank at those final few seconds. And when the original execute kind of went wrong, right? They lost more men than they managed to get back. Then suddenly you need to go off. You can no longer hold those staircases because you need all the men you have on the site itself to make sure that you would be able to take it and get that diffuser down. And as they failed in doing that as well, maybe a bit of a misplay when the diffuser was cancelled and then restarted again. Of course, there was a bit of fear that the smoke was a little bit closer, but not the case in the end. And that is TALON that picks up their very first round, even though they had a 2-man deficit at the start of the round. 2 very early entries for the side of T1 weren't able to convert them into a round win, so it is important that T1 stays on top of that game.
This is the sound, right?
Yeah, the ticking. That means that the lock comes in at 2 seconds.
There it is.
And then they spawn.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why you're hearing that if you aren't an unranked or a ranked player and a casual player, that's why that ticking sound has started to come through, because it signifies that the lock is coming in. It gives you a little bit more of a play rather than the previous, it's like a 3 bumps. Is that a fair description of it?
I think so. You're more into music and what the sounds are described as I am.
It's a bump.
But it is just to give yourself an audio cue as well that the lock-in is coming soon, because you cannot change up until 0 seconds. It locks in at 2 seconds left to go during the prep phase. So that is why that sound comes in, indeed. But T1, again, needs to go for an opening here. Maffy already in quite quickly here into the library. Of course, a different site, so different holds were being held. TALON cannot close here in the office. Goes for a bit of a pre-fire here, but also receives some back. No one dealt any damage, though, to one another, and that means that both will just stay alive. That's a flank from Soldier, and that is going to be the exothermic of the board.
That's it. A very early take here, and they're really exerting the full stretch of what this map offers. There's some cover and protection. They made sure that Trench didn't fall away from them at that moment in time, and well, now are they going to sort of get the read here on if they can try and get the approach round on the backside? Mephi's going for the drop down. Going to see if he can hunt that player, that loose position. But it seems like it's a lot of attention being paid. And to be fair, previously they were able to get 2 early bodies, but from that point in time, they were punished by that single player underneath who rotated up blue. Here, they don't want to suffer the same mistake again. But nobody's home. They've long since rotated back.
Yeah, but it's also important to note they're actually hunting with the diffuser. So if that would be to go wrong, if there is still a player downstairs that would have control of the most important piece of utility in the attacker's their arsenal, which is that diffuser, of course. It's a round-winning factor besides getting the better of all your opponents. And if you lose that, then suddenly everything turns around. Every single member of your team will have to try and work towards getting that one back. Of course, fortunately, not the case this time around. 11 will get spotted due to the Prisma being located in the window. It's one of those annoying placements where if windows get opened up, they are going to know about your position.
Well, that's That's it. And with the angles that they've opened above as well, they're sort of pre-firing themselves down and saying, well, we know you're coming, and we're going to make sure that it's so uncomfortable. 20 seconds now, and they're just going to see if they can burst and break their way through onto the back. Gone right through the middle, and it's going to be Mephi that's able to pick up one. They've been able to just drive themselves into sight, entirely blinded and pushed back off. And Arakazi's got to see if he can try and go in behind them now. The movement is cut in by 11. They've got the diffuser right by the table. The verticality's still in their favor. And with Demic picking up one, it's just the cover in that single player. The two players want to see if they can drive themselves back. But a post plant, even without the verticality and were just throwing themselves in on 20 seconds, they were absolutely swarmed across the site. The Ossa, well, they almost get dropped there, but it's Canos that pushes back, takes 11, puts a little bit of pressure over the bow of that Ossa. They know the one is on the trophy window. They're going to see if they can just swing close here and take the fight, and there it is. Canos with the double. The cover should be above. It's going to have to be a Glass taking the first fight. The Mozzie's done all they need to do. And that is a defuse.
So defuse indeed, and even with the Ossa shield being placed in said position, it was cover. You can jump over, you can go for the plant. There's no way they can directly try and challenge you. They need to go the long way around, and as a result, Talon finds themselves up into 2-0 now. It's the second time where T1 find themselves a pretty big advantage, but the second time they haven't been able to translate it into that round. Whereas at the first, they managed to get those two openings. It was this time where they managed to find themselves in the middle of the side, get the plant on the way as well. Just a retake too strong on the side of Talon, who are, well, starting off strong here on Chalet in terms of round count, not so much in the way that the rounds start themselves. Round 3 though, and that means a third different side coming out as the rest of the rotation has already been completed. Then we're headed towards the bar, and with the bar comes a Frost. It is almost always going to be the case, just to make sure they cannot just freely jump in to that big double window. And as the shields are being deployed as well, we'll quickly witness some of those replays into the small pop-up you just saw there. But Talon, they need to be a bit more on top of their openings of the round. Yes, they had the opening kill. I was giving it to you there. I was giving you the stage.
It's just a cool sound.
It is a cool sound. No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not judging you or anything. It's fine.
It's early morning. We're back with Siege.
It is definitely early morning.
For us, for the players, obviously.
For the players, not so much. But for us, it definitely is. But it doesn't matter, because I'm still very excited for the game. And it seems that T1 is wanting to start off with a bit of a library take here. We have two players out here. It is, of course, quite an important area of the map, especially for this site, as the site is located right underneath it. And that means there's also going to be quite some defenses on the board for the side of Talon. With Hetty in the pantry there, will be holding off as basically the last line of defense. We have Canos on the shield on top of Blue. We have Soldier right behind the reinforcement on the top of Fireplace. And as a result, you basically have a bit of a lock-in here. And Arakazi is going to be coming in to try and dislocate one of these members, which is most likely going to be Hetty. Soldier, I mean, near this Fireplace, near that one wall. And as the flashbangs come in, they now know there is no ADSs or magnets left anymore.
Soldier gets the first, just pulls away from the grenade before he does too much damage, can't find the second. Arakaze is able to get the revenge there and made sure that the trade was well traded. It's a big power position, puts a lot more pressure onto Blue now, but they don't want to quite hop in because Aziz is still putting some pressure. No! Slips past, but almost entirely caught out. They make sure that they hold angles, T1, and it was a habit that we sort of sometimes criticized them on before because they would leave that diffuser carrier holding an angle for a very long time. And PJH, he's out on the back as Canos goes for a bit of an aggressive retake there over the top. He knows he's done enough to draw some attention. The smoke covers the rotation, and there it is. The diffuser finally makes a little bit of movement and gets dropped close in, so PJH can see if he can take a fight elsewhere. All the way through, almost, no. Pulls himself back and goes for the pickup. Great read. And I assume it came off the back of some intel. They know where he is now, but with the two remaining players kind of separated, Hetty is the only one currently on site.
It's the only one indeed. He needs to hold off strong because PGH, he is very close to his doorway there, could easily just pop up. But it seems like they are aware of the fact that the diffuser kit has been dropped in the middle of Fireplace. It has been pinged before, so they're trying to get themselves some information set up as PGH is looking to push up to Blue. It's Arakazi that actually takes down Demic. Suddenly it's only up to Hetty and Aziz now, both of them together, but the diffuser still dropped and in control of Aziz. So as long as he's playing safe around the Fireplace here, there's still a very big opportunity to win this round here for Talon.
That's it. And Talon have got themselves set up very, very well. They're going for those rotations, the pullback, and those plays they've done before, but entirely caught out by T1, who are playing it that bit better. It's the best they've been able to drive themselves onto a round, and a 3 versus 1 onto the site. They know exactly where he is. The first fight goes away, but they make sure the second is caught up. T1 find their first round. And for my money, it was off the back of the pace applied towards the site itself. They didn't get distracted by what was otherwise going on the same way they did in the round before, and that difference of having a minute 20 rather than the 20 when you go for the execute on the site just absolutely paid dividends.
Have to blame that a little bit to the WMI player, however, because he managed to find the opening kill. I believe it was Soldier out there on the fireplace. But then he decided to swing the double window on the balcony. And I don't think there was a need to do that, because you just got rid of the player inside library on the library balcony. You have a lot more space to play with. If those grenades come around the corner, you know there's only one left. There's not much he can do. And by swinging out and giving him the even fight, which he won in the end, you basically give him complete mezzanines under their control. And from there on, you can start working. From there on, you can take library safely. That's exactly what they did. And that pushes T1 up to that singular round. Just a small mistake that, you know, ripples into a little bit more there. As round 4 is underway, we are headed back towards the very first site. And some good drones out here. Not spotted by Soldier. That one will be dope. Yeah,
that
he went prone just to check and then realized as he stood back up, oh, there is actually a drone down there. Some very efficient Twitch drone.
I was going to say, strong arm on Twitch. Absolutely loved that. And well, from this point onwards, I want to see more of the T1 that we saw on the previous round. You want to have a little bit more of that introspection and reflection onto what your opponents are doing, and rather than entirely getting behind the idea of chasing them and trying to pull them out, you instead start to structure your take onto the site itself. There is obviously a wide approach here. PGH is getting themselves locked in with that flank watch, with that control, and last time they pushed onto bedroom, they were able to get the opening 2 kills, but then couldn't actually find the solidity to find the site itself. Here, again, if we see a little bit more of a direct line onto the site, we might see a bit more of that pressure and presence.
Might see indeed. Arakazi again holding off here. Holding tightly, waiting for the swing to come through from the WMI player, and he's quite close. A grenade will be tossed in. That will definitely push him out of that current position. He actually gets downed and confirmed by the fragmentation grenade that gets tossed in, and that means, again, the mezzanines could be freely taken under control. Library will follow shortly after as well. Of course, not really the end goal here, right? It's not going to be the deciding factor, but it's definitely going to be a very big help here for the side of T1.
Well, the smoke canister, it's thrown to sort of stem the flow that might try and find its way through. Eddie has that stretch and that reach, and Soldier from underneath on the supply line tried to supply them with a little bit of death, but it's Arakaze that once again puts them into the body balance that they had last time they went for the approach here. A little bit of a pull back and a great take from Arakaze there onto Canos. Gets the lock in there onto the double wall. They've got that door, and Soldiers had to go for a pretty hefty rotate here. A minute on. One more than they got before, but this time they've still got to try and get themselves through that last wall. PJH could be that factor. He's going for a different approach they had last time. He's gone for a bit of a roam and a take underneath, potentially coming up the back of Solarium stairs, hoping all the attention is paid towards this breach.
They need to be quick, though. 50 seconds. They need to start heading in, and as long as Soldier is playing around the piano, he can stop this plant from happening. So PGH playing on that backside really needs to make something happen, at least draw a little bit of the attention away, because otherwise Talon is going to be freely allowed to try and play into their own game. Into these 2 angles, they need to hold off to stop any plant from happening. The first one gets spotted out, though, so Hedy is forced to rotate off a little bit. Actually gets caught off as he rotates towards the tracers. It puts his head right through. The plant was going down, but the flawless round will be hitting it right beforehand, and with that it is going to be yet another round here for T1, who have been better over the course of the game, but just haven't been able to close out those first 2 rounds.
That's it. Lessons learned. And that's the sort of drive that we have there. They've been able to read the hold, read the take, and they made sure that they could try and apply the pressure because, well, it's not an easy one to defend. We've already talked about that on Chalet. The way they're defending it is spread out. They have the full stretch. They have the rotations down into the 2 garages, the sub spot, and the sort of west main possibility. There was always some play off towards the opposite side of the building as well, and that freedom is something where we've seen T1 read that and close that down, but we've also seen them sort of stumble with punishing the site itself, ensuring that they have the pace and the confidence to still sort of pay attention, but know that they can play this game. That's the difference there between the 2 rounds they couldn't close out and the ones that they have since been able to.
Of course, T1 struggled last year. Not a doubt for anybody that was the case. So, you know, they just want to head into this season better as they did before. And I think if we're seeing them play right now, they already look like a better team compared to last year. But yeah, those first 2 rounds, they're a bit worrying, right? Because like everything going for them, they have the openings, they're inside, they have the plan, they have the opening kills, but yet Talon was allowed to come back a couple of times in a row, and that is something they really need to stop happening. And that's exactly what they did these last 2 rounds. They were very decisive in their executes and in punishing the Talon members who make mistakes themselves. That leads them to where they are now, a 2-2. Let's see if they can take the lead for the first time of this game, as Talon has been in the lead ever since.
For a lot of people's money, Talon have sort of solidified their half. They've got the 2 defenses that most teams are able to pull together, but at the same time, you want to see if you can try and put some pressure on here, because if T1 starts to wake up, if T1 starts to really find a drive and a bit of momentum, their control that they're able to exert, if they don't have the pressure of time, are Talon going to be able to lock in the same way that T1 has sort of found that spark to? Mephi over the top, he's just pre-firing, opening up some angles and trying to get some depth there all the way across the potentially tougher to control SMGs from that range, that LMG that we've obviously seen, a lot of those, come into a little bit more prominence here. We've got 2 on the board between this lineup already, and, well, that's actually kind of the norm nowadays.
It is. It just allows you to continue fragging here. And talking about fragging, it's a frag grenade at the bottom that will get rid of the Mujam or allow Crazy Boy to start opening up. Of course, it's not going to be the eventual side. It is just the first step. This allows you, however, to start taking that top floor, which is going to be a verticality, which is quite important if you want to go for a plant. Unless, of course, last round they just managed to get in before Talon managed to respond. That's the first heading. Finding one with that nitro cell, very important. It's going to be the... Oh, that's from below. Okay, this wasn't pre-placed. It was tossed over. So tossed over through the wall, able to shut down the Heart Breacher, and with that, that wall will stay closed. Suddenly, the plans are changing. They need to make sure that they find a different way into the site, and PGH is doing exactly that. He's going through that basement, trying to see if he can find an opening somewhere, at least draw away some of that attention as the rest of T1 is looking to either push through the doorway or through the top floor.
Well, there's an important take there, and it's one that goes away from them. Last time it came as a bit of a West Main rush combined with somebody on the kitchen door itself, and here Arakazi now doesn't have that width, doesn't have that ability to find their way across. Mephi tried to get some verticality, but it's shut out by Canos on the trade, and well, with the Malusi gadget and nobody else left, and a bulletproof and a mute jammer and 2 players, and oh no, it's a shield as well. Talon secure themselves at least an even half. One more round to try and push that divide a little bit further along, or one more from the case of T1 to pull themselves back level and give themselves a bit of a sprint race towards the end.
There we have a 3-2. Talon, basically the first round where they truly looked like they were in charge for the entirety of the round. They were in the lead. They managed to work on that and extend it as well, whereas, you know, the previous ones, T1 has been able to always put up quite a big of a punch towards the side of Talon, and able to do so now. And that will be a bit of a hit, but at least they got those 2 rounds in already. Yes, it is a bit of an attacker-sided map, so T1 might not be too happy with the current scoreline, especially since they were better in 4 of these 5 rounds, but only have 2 on the board so far. And as the last defense of Talon will be set up here, it is going to be T1 that will have to attack yet once again. Let's see if they can pull it up to a 3-3 as well. Or if it will be Talon that will have quite a comfortable lead going into the attack themselves, which should be favored on a map like Chalet.
So only one 6th pick at that point. The change of the hard destruction. I say 6th pick, no, it's just operator swapping. It's just changing the lineup.
The repick.
And I think from what we saw from the first couple of rounds when things were a bit chaotic for T1 is they were changing 4 in their lineup and then keeping just a hard breach, and then they've gone back to not really changing anything, and they found a little bit more success there. So I guess it's, you know, new features, new chances to spread your wings. They are a team that does love to sort of try and grow. They're a team that is quite aggressive as well, but they're a team that struggled.
It might have been a pocket strat they wanted to run in those first rounds where, you know, you want to start off instantly and make sure that you confuse your opponents where they have no clue what you're going to be pulling off. And, you know, they did find some success here and there, just not able to close it out in the end. And as you said it, as they went back to their more default setups, the ones that they lock in from the start, they have been able to find that success. With Mephi in very quickly here already, finds the first but cannot quite connect the final few shots. And that means Aziz will live for now as a smoke canister push in. Mephi needs to be careful though, because he was still under effect of the adrenaline surge. Doesn't want to take too much damage there as Canis gets the first. That's a diffuser. Was it dropped outside?
No, it's been dropped and traded. They didn't get that, but once again, they do get the opener, and it's something where that stat has driven them across here, and the quick follow-up there, don't do that too often. PJH at least stems the blood before it becomes a much bigger problem, as it did in the previous round. They're seeing if they can try and pull this player out of Aziz, but with Soldier, oh, he is dancing a dangerous game, just sees the sliver of Sophia, pulls back, and that LMG is able to take a couple of different fights, but on two different angles. It doesn't make it very easy. Demic, in the meantime, gets one more, takes care of PJH, a bit of a self-stun, puts them in a tricky situation. Crazy Boy, with that kit, with that diffuser, is trying to find a way onto these stairs, but if he gets dropped, he's in a very sort of dangerous position here, and now he's in the only position left, not for very long. Talon with a 4-2 half.
Good shot coming in, and a 4-2 half indeed, and that is putting them in quite a good position here, going over to the attack themselves. T1 at the first half of the game were better, results didn't quite show, but Talon able to salvage the most out of it and put themselves up with a 2-round lead now. As Hedy already running the new Hibana skin that you can get from the Battle Pass.
Whoa.
It's very early on.
It might just...
It is in the first 10 tiers.
Let's just say they're not running the skin. They're running the operator card.
They're running the operator card. True.
Skins, there's restrictions in comp play.
To the pilot program skins?
I remember the days of no skin restrictions.
Those were the days.
And then there was days of slight skin restrictions, and now we are where we're at, which is a good place to be at.
Yeah.
But it is a cool skin. You can have a motorcycle helmet.
I'm still like,
cool
okay,
jacket.
so I have the Hibana Elite. I also have the Content Creator Bundle.
The Fragmentix one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, I comboed those two, but now I'm
It's a
debating
very
whether
cool
or not
combo.
I should use the top from Fragmentix with the motorcycle uniform.
I've got the card of the motorcycle with the Fragmentix Elite combination.
Yeah, that's what I currently have as well, because it
It's a
didn't
cool
fully
combo.
unlock it yet. It's a very cool combo. I love the enemy,
there is a lot in this
customizations.
pass. The new pass is some cool stuff. I
Yeah.
love the F2 at the very end, which means that I need to play through.
The Ash skin, also really cool.
Yeah.
The smoke skin, also literally one of the best skins.
Cool skins.
It is cool skins all around.
There's no Monty with a nose guard this time, though, so that's...
That's a bit unfortunate.
Nose Monty, I love him. Okay.
You never know.
2 minutes 30. No Monty on this board either. No chance for that new Black Eye skin, and no chance for those to go through. Too wasted. Hedy makes sure that the next one's connected a little bit closer. You're always concerned that somebody might try and put some damage down as soon as you get those popped open, but nobody's actually on the stair set itself. By the looks of it, they've pulled themselves a bit further back. They're not going to entirely risk that overextension, and although we've seen a big bout of utility used in quite a big stretch here, they've not really got themselves entirely stacked up behind it. T1 are keeping their rotation options open.
The 3 players currently offside. That means only 2 will be defending the direct bomb site. So if Talon managed to find out about... Are they aware? Are they aware there's going to be a punch? That's a red out as well. It's a double kill from Mephi. Where was the cover? There was just one there. Yeah, I was going to say, Soldier, you were just there a second ago. He was probably droning because he threw out a drone. So maybe he just went for the punch with the Aruni, didn't see the person right in front of him, went for the 2 in the rappel and got that kill.
Well, they're able to find PJH as well, so they at least keep the body balance back. But the second we saw the sledge go for the door, I was like, surely they know. And then he just took a step and didn't die. He swung onto the
first one in line.
Where was he? Where was he? To not get caught by that moment in time, that's... I mean, sometimes those scrappy little moments happen, and it's sort of left 6 players and a minute on the clock. They've been able to still get the diffuser. They're trying to go for a bit of a different drive here. Obviously, you look at what's taken out. They've lost a pair of grenades, and they've also lost their hard breach.
Good information coming out from Azzy's there, however, as some pre-fire through the window on the balcony. He now knows one is out there. He's waiting for it to happen on the piano window now. He's just waiting. He's pinging it as well. He's like, I want to get some information out here. But he knows there's still one around those blue stairs. So he's basically stuck between a rock and a hard place now. But as soon as he finds one, suddenly a lot will open up for him, and he's going to be able to start moving through. He hears the gate maybe opening up. There's going to be a breach to come through as well. As he crosses, it's actually Soldier that's going to be able to, well, get that kill, as they are a little bit distracted here. And Arakazi now still challenging onto that window whilst he's already long gone.
Crazy Boy at this point, he's buried inside the site, and Arakaz has been able to slip his way back in, but no more smoke canisters, so it's just going to have to be the attention paid towards the approach. Caught one, can't find the second. 2 versus 1, but only 5 seconds left. Crazy Boy is in a great position here. He knows where the kit went down. He's going to try and scream his way over to the half wall. Just a swing and a take. And Crazy Boy is able to find their first round here, and I believe his first kill for the game.
Well played by them, indeed. First of all, that first kill onto the diffuser, important, right? Because with that, suddenly you turn it into a 2v2, which turned into a 2v1 situation. But with 3 seconds on the clock, it's technically a 1v1 because that plant is going down. That gives you 4 seconds to make a decision to either push the diffuser or to take the gunfight on the man that's covering. And if you then know he's on that big window because a kill came through from that earlier on, then the right call is indeed to run through the serial laser gate from the piano double door onto the opening made into the site, which basically makes you the least amount of vulnerable that you could be in such a situation. Because if he would have gone through the door and ran all the way through the half wall, he would have been shot by the rotation in that door in the wall there. So, right call made in the end, and round 1 as a result. And now we're headed towards the bar. And again, the frost coming out. Not that we've seen any big frost mats yet. It's always funny to see where those end up. Sometimes some teams bring in some cheeky ones here and there and manage to surprise or catch some off guard. That's an interesting shield. Plays backwards, of course, so you can play it right behind the little cupboard there. Little table. Side table. And with 3 minutes on the clock, it's now TALON again. That starts the attack, and they need to try and find a round here so they at least put themselves up to 5-3. Maintain that 2-gap lead they had before, and make sure they reach 6 first.
I did wonder why they put their meat jumper down, but got reinforced in the end underneath. No quick entrances here, and, well, Heady's going to find themselves slowed and stunned. It's pre-prepped and placed with a grenade, able to take care of this jammer. And now they get themselves that rotation, that opener, where they can try and drive themselves in underneath. They're still doing a lot of busy work elsewhere. They're still trying to get the control over PJH in the corner, but he has the stretch and the play. He has the frost mats to ensure no quick jump in, and Arakazi and 11 are those swing players in those 2 power positions.
Trying to find the very first PGH drops, and it's a grenade that gets tossed in right after. It's not going to deal any damage out of Frostmat, however, underneath that window for Soldier. That is going to be the big worry here. Needs to be droned out, and I believe there was a drone just passing through, so they might be well aware. But there's also some verticalities open up from beneath, and there could be a shotgun player as well out there, so if you do decide to jump in, you might get yourself killed either way. They're setting up, though. They're setting up to go for a full execute. It doesn't seem like they want to go for a complete top floor control. It seems like they just want to get the library under control as 11 gets the first. And that means he can now solely focus onto that library that they wanted to get under control a second ago, but can no longer do that now.
That's it. We talked about how that's such a big power position, and those swings can be very risky, but here he's now built himself such a good position to try and focus entirely towards this push, this approach, as nobody else is there instantly to pick up that trade-off. There's a big take. PJH went for a bold run out there, whether they heard it or had the read on the intel, either way. Demic has been able to take that, the awareness of a pistol, drop down and swung around on the top. 11 is entirely blinded and caught off by Soldier, who has been this driving force over the past couple rounds, pulled a triple and almost drove them into it, but a 4 versus 2, 40 seconds. Now they're going to see if they can start trying to put some pressure down onto Crazy Boy. Still as a C4 in pocket, can try and catch them if they go for the attempt on the plant itself. Has that opener, but they don't have that close down on his head itself. Demic, 20 seconds, he's watching that rotate of that last player, trying to get that drone into that position, but Mephi, he's been able to slip himself closer and closer towards the support here. Heady has that, ready for the hop-in, ready for the drop down. They're going to wait for the bait and the pressure, no grenades, they've got to just try and drive it. There's one more take, and now it's once again all down to Crazy Boy to try and clutch it out. Caught out by the first, there's the drop, there's the attention, and there's the Talon.
He got a nitro out in the end, but he wasn't quite able to detonate it in time. And we said Mephi watching that rotation, yes, indeed, but so was Demic. He was watching the other one as well. So they were making sure of each other, that they were not allowed to pass. And that puts us in this situation now, where a tactical timeout has been called by T1, who are currently behind on the scoreline. Yes, they have had quite some opportunities to be in front. It could have been a 4-2 split for them if they managed to take, well, or make use of every single one of them that they had. But they were trailing 4-2. And now Talon 5-3 up. 2 more rounds and they take a full 3-point win here. 1 more round and they secure themselves at least a singular point, whereas T1 would still have nothing. So they need to make sure that they turn the tides now. Now there is still going to be a full 3 points on the board. And it's a bit different, right? Because during the 6th Invitational, we also had different point systems. But that was based on how many maps you won, not on how you won those maps. Because everything was a best of 3 with the exception of the grand final. So sometimes you saw teams only take the tactical timeout when a 6 was reached by the opposing team. So when a team was on map point.
No, I'm just thinking of something else, but you keep going with your...
Okay, I saw you look very confused.
Yeah, because I'm working something out.
But now to do it,
a while.
because on 5, due to the fact that that 6th round is worth a point. So you want to make sure that you keep it out of their hands for as long as you possibly can.
Okay, what I was thinking now,
yes,
you've sort of put that thought into my brain, is now we have a 9 map pool.
Yeah.
Will it be a best of 7 grand final?
Maybe. It could be. What about just a full-on best of 9, you know?
Just best of 9.
A full day for it.
9 hours of high-tier comp siege, potentially.
Yeah. You see the new bundle, by the way. The new content creator bundle just popped up.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it's for Echo. At least I assume it's a new content creator bundle. I don't know if we can have it again.
Did we just leave?
I'm not quite sure. I saw an Echo bundle there. We didn't leak it. That was production, if it was. I'm just gonna find it if it's
you have a look.
There.
Otherwise, production's gonna get in trouble. Okay. And whilst you do that, let's talk about how Talon have been able to find some of that fight. And unfortunately, the fight's been a bit missing from the star power player of T1, 11, who was so frequently that huge gunner who pulled the team into the sort of environment of let's keep the fight up, let's try and match the pace. Well, he's not really been able to get into this map so far, and obviously one of his only 2 kills came on the previous round.
It was a leak.
Oh dear. I thought that was Dez's job.
Yeah, it's Dez's job indeed, but hey, it is what it is. There's actually 7-day renown boosters to claim now, so go ahead and go get those. Claim those boosters instead. BGH on the Mai, taking a lot of damage here, but he'll stay alive, at least for now, and that means there's still a gun in play here for the side of T1. It's not a great start to the round that they need to desperately win to make sure that they keep Talon off that singular point at least, because there was, I believe, a total of 14 points difference between the two over the last year. So, and that's in favor of Talon. So T1 want to make sure they start this off strong here. They need to make sure that they get as many points as they possibly can here in this first week of play.
Now, PJH suffering a little, obviously. Wamai as an operator gets stronger and stronger the longer they're able to try and survive and thrive inside of this. So he's pulled himself away from the engagement. Mephi might be the next that hits a little bit of the fight here. They've set themselves up for a wider stretch. They're concerned about the runouts, and you can see they've obviously changed to bring those air jabs into a little bit more of a stern position. Obviously, they lost 2 on that opening round runout, the one that went away from them, and then well, they won the next one, but at the same time, if that engagement had gone away from them, there's a high chance they would have not been able to pull the previous round from where they set themselves up to on that single flank on the opposite side. So here, that awareness towards that run out, that game of, well, T1 might strike, so let's be cautious of it, is paying them off, but it's also left them with only a minute left.
It's not much time, but at least they will start to open up. Hetty taking a lot of damage there from a nitro cell that went off, and these are X-Cars placed right next to the hatch, but I believe it's another C4 that came out. Actually clears out the Electro Claw, but so basically allows him to open up in the end anyway. And with 40 seconds, there's also some verticality now made by the defenders themselves that can be used by these attackers up on that top floor to try and single these players out. Demic seems to be aware of a player below, and he's starting to go for that hunt. This crazy boy loses his life. It's the very first one to fall. Demic, however, will be picked up. It's still a 3-on-4 advantage for the side of T1, and they need to hold on to this as well. 15 seconds as the Talon members start descending.
They're rolling it over now, 10 seconds, straight up the stairs, but caught off on the approach now, and with that verticality falling into their favor, 11. I said he hadn't had the biggest impact, but that kill might have been the one that drives it here. He's looking to see if he can swing himself back in. The fight is over the short wall. The soldier finds one, gets traded out. It's a post-plant 1 versus 1 with flickers of health across the two teams. They're over the top. And it just takes a scrap and a scrape of a bullet through a soft wall. They're both well aware of this pressure. PJH is pre-firing everything. But at this point, it's the Hibana that almost gets caught out, just sees the retreating end, 25 seconds. And just long-arming it behind the hefty chassis. It's a bit of a run. It's a pick back up. PJH isn't going for the solidity. He's not entirely sure. He thinks your man's upstairs, but he's inside the kitchen. There's a bit of a prepper and a reveal. He still thinks he's upstairs. And now it's just got to be locked in. The rotation comes around. And it's Hetty that's able to put them onto map point.
I was going to say he saw him the first time around, but didn't want to take the shot. Didn't want to go for the long way around. I think there might have been enough time there, but either way, it's going to be the round win in the end, and it's match point. The first point on the board here confirmed for Talon, and now they have the opportunity to fight for 3, and they have 3 more rounds to make that happen. Master Bedroom and Office is going to be the first site T1 will take them to. And an opportunity for Talon to start the League of Strong at a top position.
I mean, it's Talon. It's that sort of early strike. They made sure they could try and put the pressure on, and they didn't have any changes. They didn't come in with any roster changes. They're a team that didn't have the worst showing, but didn't have the best showing. In a league that has become stronger and stronger and has sort of had these superstar runs and star-turning makes over the past year, Talon were in that sort of unfortunate mid-table obscurity. Not in danger truly of being relegated, but not really looking like they're a danger towards the top teams. Getting off to this strong start against T1, another team that sort of sat in that position, that had these big strike moments, but had these moments that pulled themselves away, it sets a good pace, and it sets them with a confidence to sort of say, well, we're still fighting. Let's see how far we can push this.
Exactly. If they manage to bring it back to 6-6, that's a point, and potentially 2. So that is what they're aiming for. Nothing is lost just yet. There's everything still to play for. You could be ending up, theoretically, at the top of the league if you manage to win this 8-6 for T1. It is possible. It's unlikely that it will happen, but, you know, could be a good start. Either way, barricades being opened up with the bearing 9. Also, the X-Cars being used to get rid of the Aruni serial laser gates yet once more. That means they can now start working their way to the wall. Seems to be a mute jammer there, however, which will stall that progress, and that's a strange claymore. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so it's only because Aziz is playing on this. Okay, I was going to say, if you're not going to go for library, why would you put it there? But it's because he's playing and rappelling up there. So he's basically covering himself in.
Well, the pressure starts to come through here, and if we turn our minds back to how this went before, it was a double kill on the run out from the garage underneath, and Unlock will be able to pull that magic trick twice, but they do still have that presence and pressure from underneath. Demic is keeping themselves a little bit safe. They see the line on the rappel, and the pings come through, but there's a bit of pressure that might start to come through from Trophy. We've got Soldier that's gone for the rotate here, and the grenades bounce themselves through. This is something they didn't manage before. Actual boots inside the ground here, and the pressure comes through. The first fight almost caught out Crazy Boy. He's stuck in a corner, swaps to the shotgun, but it's a close fight, and a pre-fire that goes into Canos' favor. He's inside the site. If they can get the cover, well, it's 11 that has his own. A huge take and an important one over from the back of that CEO desk now as Demix trying to get the catch on that player in the far corner, covers with the flashes to allow Aziz to pop themselves in. The pre-fire onto the Wamai, and it's a dangerous fight. Arakaza goes down. PJH going for a rotate round at 11. He's suffering now. They know he's on that backboard, and they just need to try and clear him off, and it's Hetty that's able to actually get that solid kill. One on Piano. And one with the rotation possibility of underneath instantly dropped, but the diffuse is being planted at the same time as well. A post plant situation of 4 versus 1. Well, it is not going to last very long. Talon, they open us up the siege year of 2022, and they are the first team to put points on the board out of anyone.
Talon placed in 6th last year. They had a 14-point advantage over T1, who placed in last. And he started off here with 3 yet once more, which they put between themselves and T1. And Talon, for now, will be in the first place of APAC North.
It's a good place to be in. It's a good place to be in on a league that is growing. Hi, welcome back. On a league that is growing in confidence, on a league that's growing in power.
Yeah.
And in a structured sort of play style, they were, as we said, a mid-table team. And they're a mid-table team that is opened up today with what was a solid performance on Chalet.
It definitely is, and if this is what we get to see, I mean, there was some great comebacks from them due to small mistakes being made by T1. They made some small mistakes themselves as well, but they were able to pull through it time and time again. And if that is something we get to see more from Talon, then I am very excited to see what they can bring for the rest of the stage.
But before that, we'll have a quick break, and we'll be back with the analyst desk to break it down.